We're also seeing updated data here, Pierluigi, the GADOLIN trial. Dr. Sen's presentation, um, obinutuzumab, bendamustine.
Yeah, the data are really impressive. There was an update after 3 years, after 4 years, I'm sorry, on more 400 patients. At the end of the day, the time to the next treatment, the median time to the next treatment, comparing the standard arm, obinutuzumab as a single agent versus the study arm, obinutuzumab plus bendamustine, and then consolidation with obinutuzumab is really different. Is in advantage of the study arm is 33 months versus 18 months. So data really impressive, but at the end of the day, we discussed also before, it depends by the frontline treatment of our patients, because for example in Europe, as I said before, the most part of European countries are using bendamustine containing regimen in frontline, so it's quite impossible to use this kind of second line, third line treatment, including bendamustine again.
Yeah, John, we have the same issue in the United States, right? I mean, most people are using a bendamustine-containing regimen, probably BR as frontline. So how does this results of this study, figure into your decision making about the long term, the sequencing of patients, and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't tend to retreat patients with bendamustine. I think, it can be done, and there are probably occasional times that I've done it, but in general, I start to worry about the marrow toxicity and the cumulative cytopenias and et cetera. The idea of giving 6 cycles and then another 6 cycles later seems unlikely. So, maybe I'll give another 2 at some point, but it's really more of a bridge to something else. So that said, I think what the GADOLIN study tells me and informs me more is that I tend to use obinutuzumab a little more in the relapse setting than in the upfront setting. So as I said earlier, I don't tend to use it as part of my initial treatment, but I tend to use it particularly in a relatively refractory patient as part of their later line therapy rather than rituximab.
So if you're not using it with, and I agree, I worry about the cumulative toxicity of bendamustine. If you're not using it with bendamustine, are you using it? You're adding it to CHOP, or what do you?
I would do that. I think that's a reasonable, thing to do. Again, it's an extrapolation, but you have data from the gallium study that is, a reasonable thing to do. We're also looking as part of the intergroup study that's looking at the early progressor follicular lymphoma patients. It's a randomized SWOG-led study looking at early progressing follicular lymphoma. And basically, it's a randomized phase 2. It's a PI3 kinase inhibitor plus obinutuzumab, lenalidomide, obinutuzumab, or chemotherapy, either CHOP or Benda, depending on what the patient had before with obinutuzumab. So I think that decision was made, again, for kind of similar reasons.
So maybe building on what John was saying earlier, the lenalidomide in combination with whatever antibody you're using. If you're using rituximab up front, if you were to use a combination, maybe that it would pan out that using obinutuzumab with lenalidomide might make sense in that.
Sure.
In that
Certainly in a
setting.
more resistant patient,
Yeah.
definitely.
I guess we'll have to wait really, truly for the data to come out to make any firm statements there.